Morning, everyone. Welcome to today's webinar, Painless Data Protection for Office 365 Workloads with Softcat, Druva and AWS. This is the second part of our business continuity webinar series, and if you are interested in looking back at the first part of the series, you can find this on softcat.com, and make sure to look out for more information coming soon on the third part of the series. Today we have three great speakers: Andrew Cochrane, our Chief Technologist for Datacentre at Softcat; Martin Edwards, Technical Leads, Partners and Alliances for EMEA at Druva; and Darren Sharpe, a Senior Channel Business Development Manager for AWS Marketplace. Before we get started, I'd like to remind everyone that you can submit questions at any time during the webinar using the Q&A tool on the console, and all being well, we'll take time to go through and answer these questions at the end of the session. We also want to let you know a recording of this webinar will be emailed to you by tomorrow, and if you have any questions following this, please speak with your Softcat account manager or email marketing@softcat.com if you don't have account manager. I'll now pass you over to Andrew to start the webinar. Thank you.
Thanks, Anna. Morning, everyone. Thank you for taking time out of your busy days today to join us for this. What I wanted to do was just start by, I suppose, level setting where we are with data protection today in the market, and where we see a number of challenges with our customers. So I've highlighted four here that we see as the most common. Cloud is, I suppose, the one where everyone's talking about at the moment. But where we see it is really from two different perspectives. One is from a technology point of view, and the cloud brings a number of different choices that we can choose to where we host, how we host, what services, what capabilities we have when we're looking at hosting workloads or data. We see a lot of organizations looking at this and taking a perspective of sort of the 6 R's or 7 R's, depending on what framework you look at, and whether do you remove, do you retain applications when you're looking to move or refresh something. Quite commonly what we're seeing at the moment is customers are using the repurchase option to look at SaaS, where there may be a best fit application which is provided through the SaaS platform. It's easier to manage, easier to maintain. It takes a lot of that burden away from infrastructure teams. The other perspective that we see is more from an operating model. This may be the one that's less obvious when considering cloud, but from an operating model, the cloud brings in decisions and challenges of how do we procure services, how do we deliver those out to our end users, and how do we operate the environment, what skill sets do we need, what sort of uptime do we need, what sort of level of protection do we need. Even things like how do we procure that, so how do we move from maybe a more CapEx to an OpEx model, how do we transact those pieces with all the different parties involved. So the cloud definitely brings a number of different challenges, but also a number of opportunities of where we can go as organizations. The second one I wanted to raise was data. We're seeing the boom in data and have done for a number of years now. We're all storing more of it, higher fidelity files, greater quantities of files, and that just ends up amassing more and more data in more locations, amplified by the cloud. So you may have some on-prem, you may have some in your data centers, you may have some in cloud, you may have some in SaaS, you may have some endpoints. Data is getting prolific across the environment. And also, coupled with that are sort of things like GDPR, and we've seen other litigations and other compliance things come over the years. That data is becoming far more critical to our organizations to be able to manage and maintain that. The third one is resources. We're all trying to do more and more, but unfortunately there's only a certain number of hours in the day. So how do we have the right time, the right people, the right skill sets to be able to focus on the value that we need to deliver to our businesses and not getting overwhelmed with technology choices, with new things coming online, with just trying to, I suppose, keep the lights on. How do we deliver value back within that, given time and given skill sets and resources that we all have? And the fourth one I wanted to highlight was end users. Particularly at the moment, probably the vast majority of the people on this call are at home, like we all are. But we were seeing that changing before. Yes, at the moment it's a bigger shift than what we've seen in a number of years. But user behaviors have been changing, where they work from, where they store data, and that becomes a risk and a challenge of how do we protect that when the data is not inside our four walls, not on a server that we can go and touch and put all of our firewalls on and have all a big backup solution that picks up every single system that we know we need to protect. So those are the four really that I wanted to highlight as kind of areas that we're seeing a lot of focus and a lot of challenges for our customers. And today we're going to talk through kind of a number of different ways that we can start to address those. We've got great speakers from Druva and AWS on the line. Softcat, Druva and AWS have been working together for over 5 years now. We've got over 100 joint successful customers that have worked through a number of different projects with us all. And I think that's for a number of different reasons. I think really the technology that sort of AWS and Druva have speaks for itself, but I think also the approach of trying to fix not only technical issues but also business challenges that customers are facing really is where I think the value is with this partnership. So without further ado, I'm going to pass over to Martin from AWS so we can get further into this. Martin, over to you.
Thanks very much, Andrew, and thanks everyone for attending today. So I'm Martin Edwards. I am the Director of Sales Engineering for Druva, covering partners and alliances. I've been involved in data protection now for the last 25 years or so, the last 9 of which has been with Druva, helping build the world's first cloud-native based data protection solution. I suppose the first question really is, what does it take to protect all of your end-user data? It used to be simple. Protecting end-user data simply meant backing up all of your desktops. But the world has evolved now and things are far more complex. Many applications have moved to the cloud, and in fact, according to Gartner, 97% of organizations own at least one cloud application now. Also, according to Gartner, 70% of those companies will experience some sort of business disruption due to unrecoverable data loss within a cloud application by the year 2022. And additionally, and we've seen this more so in recent times, there's been an explosion in end-user devices, and that's projected to reach well over 2 billion devices by the end of 2023. And business-critical data will reside on these devices as well. So your user data is highly dispersed. It can be anywhere and everywhere. And most companies have some kind of mix of end user on endpoints, cloud applications. And this mix is just going to evolve over time. At the end of the day, you need to protect this data regardless of the application or its location. But what's happened when application move from the data center to the cloud, we had application silos within the data center. And we've now created a whole new set of application silos in the cloud. And data resides on a myriad of devices as well. So from an IT perspective, they're faced with a challenge of how do they effectively protect and govern all of this siloed data across both the cloud applications as well as the many different devices that people are accessing data on. But a funny thing happened on the way to the cloud. People have assumed that storing data in the cloud means that it's fully protected. What do you think? Well, in fact, in their services agreement, Microsoft themselves recommend that you regularly back up your data. And other cloud applications that used to provide a service for backup and recovery have stepped away from that as a core offering, recommending that you use third-party solutions to provide the service. And if you look from the analyst's side of things, Gartner states that Microsoft 365 doesn't meet Gartner's definition of backup. It offers limited recovery, especially in the wake of ransomware or file corruption. And looking at ransomware, recent directive changes from the UK Cybersecurity Centre warned that sync and share services such as OneDrive are not immune to ransomware, and your data is not isolated from the primary data centre. And as we can also see here, Microsoft itself is not immune to ransomware attacks. And we at Druva hear about lots of attacks that don't show up in the headlines for obvious reasons. Just looking at the out-of-the-box data retention on Microsoft 365, we can see areas where you're not covered for long-term recovery of data. And when on average it takes over 140 days for you to discover compromise or loss, you can see that the default settings just aren't enough to protect your data as a business. So just looking at what could go wrong. Obviously, and the number one reason for data loss is data getting accidentally deleted. The number two, ransomware, is another imminent threat. It's now happening somewhere in the world every 40 seconds, according to studies. And it is IT's worst nightmare. No one wants that. If hit by ransomware, the average recovery time is estimated to be at 23 days, and the average cost to recover has more than doubled in the last quarter of last year, and it far exceeds the cost that an organisation would pay for the ransom fee itself. And the data might be lost forever, and typically organisations that do get hit by ransomware don't survive the financial impact afterwards. Another area of data exposure is litigation and e-discovery. The use of data as evidence in legal proceedings. If you're not proactively preparing for this, e-discovery costs can easily add to millions of dollars a year that could be avoided if you use a solution to do it as a daily task. Compliance, and we're all very aware of compliance, it's another sizable risk, especially since GDPR and more recently the CCPA, the Californian version of GDPR. The GDPR fines start minimally at 10 million euros. And regulation not only costs an arm and a leg if you violate it, but it can also lead to a massive dent in a company's reputation. And finally, one quite often overlooked process is the actual cost when you are going through either an operating system upgrade or device refreshes for your users' devices. They can be tedious, time-consuming, and expensive, and it's estimated to cost, on average, about $400 per user. And multiply that by the amount of users within your organization, you can quickly see how those costs add up. As you can see, there's many end-user data risks and costs that your organization should address. And these can all be mitigated by a good backup and governance solution for your end-user data. So now we've discussed the 5 protection challenges, let's find out how Druva can help address these challenges. Druva as an organization provide 3 main core components through a cloud natively designed solution. We have solutions to cover your endpoint data. We have solutions to cover data that reside within your data center. We even have solutions that cover any data that you are already running within the cloud. And using the power of the cloud, we provide a solution that not only provides backup and recovery and disaster recovery options, we can use the power of the cloud to take the data that we have stored and provide additional data intelligence tasks to enable you as your business to have a full handle not only on the current data you have, but also the historic data that's been gathered. Today, we're very much looking at the end user side of the solution, where we offer the most comprehensive solution for application data collection and the most comprehensive array of workloads that can be driven from that data collection. All of this delivered centrally and allowing you to cover and search for data across all of those workloads from a single pane of glass. Importantly, for any data loss prevention tool, you must have a robust data protection platform. The solution that we provide in partnership with Softcat and AWS provides complete data isolation. Data immutability, meaning that we don't have any way of changing the data within historic snapshots. Being cloud-driven, we provide indefinite and customizable retention to fit an organization's specific needs. And most importantly, it's IT-led. IT can set the foundation of the rules and choose whether or not certain users or certain groups of users within an organization have the ability to make tweaks to the default settings. And granular and flexible recovery options, allowing you to use or have your users self-service or have your IT team responsible for providing any restoration of data directly back to users' accounts. So from a cloud application perspective, protecting data cloud with cloud. We allow you to take control of your data, whether it be in Microsoft 365 or G Suite or Slack or Salesforce, on a system that is scalable on demand, infinite in its resources, and most importantly, automatic, so you don't have to worry about the data collection taking place. Delivering this through the cloud means that you can have and be set up and running within 15 minutes. You don't have any software or hardware to install or maintain within your own premises. And we as an organization update and provide new functionality into the solution pretty much bi-weekly. And total cost of ownership on this, because there's no additional hardware, no infrastructure, no real admin overhead. Once this is set up, it will run and do what you need it to do for the organization. So very little admin overhead and no cost surprises. Everything we provide to you is wrapped up in a software as a service wrapper. That means that you don't have to worry about paying additional vendors for storage or worry about egress charges if you were ever restoring data back. Everything is covered with absolutely no impact to you from a WAN or a VPN traffic perspective because we are delivering this cloud to cloud. When we look at the physical endpoint elements, we have comprehensive cover for Windows, Macs, and Linux PCs. We can also protect your phones and tablets through iOS and Android. We're always working on developing the solution, and we provide day one support for new operating systems, as we did recently with Mac OS Catalina. We have support for virtual desktops through AWS Workspaces. Basically, all device data that you have, we have a way of collecting that data and storing it in a simple, straightforward manner. For data loss recovery and for DLP, we have solutions that allow you to recover the data from lost or stolen devices directly to a new device delivered to the user. We have the ability to remote wipe information off of devices that have been lost or stolen and provide geo-tracking as well to see whereabouts those devices were when they were last seen. and around data lifecycle management, using not only the backup of the data, but also being able to back up user settings on their devices to easily allow them to transition from one device to another, even if that device has a new operating system installed. We can cut down the time, we can cut down the costs, and we can cut down the IT admin overhead. When we talk about ransomware discovery, we utilize machine learning in our solution, so we understand what is normal behavior for users. And we allow organizations to be alerted to any major changes in data structure on users' end devices or indeed their cloud application accounts. So if we were to see a high data rate of new files or deleted files, we can alert the organization. We can also alert the organization on modified data, which could be indication of malware attacks or data encrypting on devices, which could be a very strong indicator of ransomware. And all of this placing a very clear flag in the sand so that you as an organization know exactly where the last known good point was within that user's data. And from an e-discovery perspective, the standard approach, the 8-pronged approach of going and gathering information for e-discovery or litigation, of going to each silo of data, gathering specific information, storing that on disk, then shipping that through to a legal department that would then cull that data down to the specifics regarding the case. Would you rather go through those 8 steps or know that proactively you have all of that data in one location, where we have built-in litigation tools to allow you to place custodians on legal hold, pre-cull that data to either the last gathered set or data within a specific range, and then pass that directly through to your e-discovery platforms or download that data onto media to allow your legal team to then take over the case. Taking it a step further with proactive compliance, allowing organizations to search for content of data based on sensitive keywords. We provide a whole host of keywords out of the box, but allow organizations to add in their own specific keywords or use regular expressions to help identify data that shouldn't exist on users' devices. And we can use proactive compliance to allow you to deal with that data and even defensively delete that data from a user's device and historic snapshots should that apply. As an organization running in the cloud, obviously security and privacy is of key. Now, we're hosted and managed and powered by Amazon Web Services, but we also as an organization have our own security policies and audits that we adhere to that dovetail in to the certification that AWS also provide for the data at rest. We also have a massive ecosystem of integrations to allow you to easily use the data that we have gathered or manage the users that are being deployed. We have integrations with Okta, Microsoft AD, whether that's on-premise or in Azure. We have integration with Splunk for your security information and event management, and tie-ins with multiple third-party e-discovery tools, and recently announced a tie-in with FireEye as well for integrated ransomware protection. But the real secret sauce of Druva is the simplified user experience. It is incredibly easy to use. It's a single web interface that allows you to take control of all of that data. and we have the best customer support. We recently announced our NPS score for the last period has raised by 2 to 88, which is by far ahead of any competition, especially in the SaaS software world. As an organization, we have well in excess of 4,000 enterprise-based customers. We're natively built on AWS, so we use the power of the cloud for the world-leading public cloud provider. And we have well in excess of 150 petabytes worth of data under management. And as an organization, we are now completing well in excess of 1 million backups per day for our customers. And I hope that's given you a little bit more of an overview and an insight into what Druva has to offer. And I'm now going to pass to Darren at AWS, who's going to talk a bit more about our partnership and Marketplace.
Thanks very much, Martin. Good morning, everybody. My name's Darren Sharpe. I'm a business development manager in AWS Marketplace, responsible for development of the channel and particularly Softcat in this case. So you've heard from Andrew as to some of the complexity that is evolving in our world today as we look at data protection issues. We've heard from Martin as to how the Druva solution can solve some of those issues, particularly well when looking around at Office 365. What I'd now like to do is give you a bit more detail as to how you can get access to these solutions through the likes of Softcat and AWS Marketplace, particularly, and how this can also drive some of that complexity and help you with a more agile approach to how you get access to solutions like Druva, but still maintaining that valued relationship that you get from Softcat. So what I'm showing here is hopefully what you would agree on the left-hand side is your typical software estate. As that stands today, various different elements of that may be in a number of different cloud providers. You've got a number of different commercial off-the-shelf solutions, a number of different in-house developed applications, essentially a large opportunity for rationalization of this estate. And as the world evolves, as Andrew was talking about, this is becoming increasingly complex. Now, as you're looking at the cloud providers to get more agility and elasticity around how you consume infrastructure services, we find that lots of customers are also looking to get that same agility and elasticity around how they consume enterprise software. And Druva is a prime example of that, of a SaaS solution that's available from Softcat and AWS Marketplace that will give you that elasticity. So this world on the right-hand side, is our view in AWS Marketplace is where we see customers heading towards at various different stages of enablement. But, a more rationalized, more considered world where there's more control and there's more agility and ability to innovate within your software world. So how can Marketplace help with this? Well, it's a huge curated catalog of enterprise software solutions, Druva being one of our principal partners within the storage space within the Marketplace. There's over 7,000 listings, and it's going to be from that enterprise vendor set that you'll be familiar with. Druva may well be one of those top 30 to 50 vendors that you're already working with. But those vendors that have been around for a long while, and then potentially lots of those up-and-coming software vendors that don't necessarily want to build an elastic metering and billing solution. They want the scale and the curation and the benefit that AWS can offer, and this single pane of glass to manage this world through AWS Marketplace. So a number of different vendors on here that I'm sure you'll be familiar with. In lots of different categories, and we don't just categorize by IT category. We know that in AWS Marketplace, you as a customer is looking at a number of different vendors in each of these areas to determine what their cloud posture is. But also you're going to be looking for industry-specific solutions. So solutions like Druva, for an Office 365 world, whether you're procuring in AWS today, whether you're hosted in AWS today, you can still procure through AWS Marketplace. You can still find the solutions in Marketplace and deploy them, get access to them very quickly. So how does this work with the partner world? And I think this is super interesting because a lot of people would consider that AWS Marketplace is there to take away from the partner ecosystem. And we'd absolutely refute that. If you look at this line at the bottom here, consulting partner private offers is what Softcat are part of. This is our partner program. It means that they're absolutely front and center in being trusted advisor, professional services deliverer, cost aggregator, managing those vendor relationships for you. You may well be using AWS Marketplace for some consumption. You can see the value that this is driving on the left-hand side for our independent software vendors. This is a quick and easy and cost-effective way for them to deploy software within a curated world. And on the right-hand side, the value to you, the customer. But this is about your search and selection. Try very quickly, fail, move on, get access to something else. When you're talking about an enterprise purchase or a purchase that's going to be over a longer term or something that's more instrumental and key to the business, you should absolutely be dealing with Softcat to provide those professional services, consultancy fit for business, and work with a vendor to make sure you're getting the best cost. So consulting partner private offers or CPPO through Softcat is the mechanism through which they can deliver Druva in an enterprise contract engagement that's slick and easy and simple to view. And on the right-hand side there, you can see some of the tools that we offer to manage this world. You know, we use the car analogy. I won't mention the names, but potentially someone wants to go very fast, you've got access to that software that you need very quickly. Or if you want to operate in a more governed world, we've got some tools to manage that within AWS Marketplace. So what can we do with the tool? We won't spend too long on this today, but essentially you've got access to free trial solutions. You've got access to free software. This is not just about spending. This is about curated images of things like CentOS, for example. Within the middle, a number of different consumption offerings that will help you get access to the software that you need quickly and efficiently and use that in the way that you wish. The bar on the right-hand side, this private offer mechanism, that's when you should be getting in touch with Softcat to say, I wish to subscribe and I want to use the benefits of Marketplace and Softcat jointly to drive cost and improve efficiency in the supply chain of getting access to things like Druva solutions. So why use partners? Again, just to hammer this message home, you know, this is a low-cost route to market for you, the customer, to get access to the likes of Druva. If you have an AWS committed spend agreement, which we call enterprise discount program, purchases through CPPO and Marketplace will retire that. Come and ask your Softcat account manager for more information on that. It's very simple to use. Softcat can add financing into this route if they want to, including extending credit terms. And they can provide services and bundles within this very quick contracting world to help you get access to the solutions very quickly. Lots of ISVs participating in the partner program. This is very much a growing world as we see this acceleration of ability to be able to access software super quickly. And these efficiencies that we're driving out of the supply chain with partnerships from Softcat. Druva, absolutely, you know, again, just to underpin this message, you know, are an advanced technology partner within the AWS ecosystem. You know, we're relying on best-in-class services from the likes of Druva to be able to support you, our customers, in how they need to meet their technology goals. So absolutely baked into the AWS ecosystem and managed end-to-end. And this procurement message, which is offering both deployment and procurement transformation through AWS Marketplace, is critical to all our journeys. So I guess just to call out, you know, benefits in the end of working through this single pane of glass, and we'd encourage you to go and speak to Druva, go and speak to Softcat about how they recommend you use Marketplace to consolidate this world. But this is about reducing procurement friction for you, but still getting the best services that you rely upon from the likes of Softcat when this is an enterprise contracted purchase. Leveraging those EDP commitments, if you do have a committed spend, as I say, that's something that Softcat can give you more detail on. And this single pane of glass to give you consolidated billing and spend management. And a number of other innovations just to talk about. We won't go through all this list today, but be aware that there are some tools available to you. Within AWS Marketplace, this is not just a procurement platform. We offer simple governance and guardrails through a mechanism called Private Marketplace, which allows you to set some rules and guardrails, as I say, as to who can deploy what within your organization. So it's not just a free marketplace. It allows you to put some structure around your organization from a procurement perspective as to the types of solutions they can offer. We then have a number of contracting mechanisms that will give you standardized end user license agreements, for example. Again, a no-cost option, but the point I'm trying to make here is that AWS Marketplace and the likes of Softcat and Druva are combining the power of this transformed procurement world to give you, the customer, a much slicker experience. And you'll continue to see this evolve and more services from Softcat be available within AWS Marketplace. So I'd encourage you to reach out to your Softcat account manager for further information on how they can support you through AWS Marketplace and you can have access to Druva solutions. And with that, I'll pass back to Andrew.
Excellent. Thank you, Darren. So I'd just like to start by thanking Martin. We heard from him earlier, go through and talk to us around the Druva SaaS data protection platform, how that can help with protecting your endpoints, SaaS, particularly Office 365 today. And really, I think one of the bits that stood out for me is really trying to use that not only for data protection, but almost move into that data management point, looking at it from a compliance, from a risk perspective as well, and giving that insight into that data. So if you wanted any more information around Druva, or you want to start looking at a demo of any of the technology, there's an email address there on the slides, ashleywest@druva.com. Please reach out to Ashley and he'll be happy to help you there. I'd also like to thank Darren for going through AWS Marketplace and kind of how you can work with AWS and Softcat if you've got any questions on that, and kind of really that procurement transformation of how you procure software and deliver it was really interesting. I think really an area we're seeing a lot of growth at the moment. If you've got any questions around sort of Softcat, AWS Marketplace, please reach out to Tilly Perkins. Her address is on the slide deck at the moment. So again, finally, just thank Darren and Martin for their time today. Hopefully it's been of interest for you. And I'd like to pass over to Zana for any Q&A that we might have had.
Thank you guys for that. Yeah, we have some time for a Q&A session now. We haven't actually received any questions at the moment, but I'll give it a couple of minutes. If any more wanted to put some questions through, there is a widget on your screen that you can put that through on. And if not, I will wrap up the webinar.
So while we're waiting for if anyone has any questions, can I pop a question over to Martin, please? You talked about a number of different, I suppose, data protection challenges, endpoint, SaaS. Do you see a common theme for how customers kind of start to adopt Druva? Is there a certain, I suppose, area for protection? Is it more the insight, or is it literally everything? I just wondered if you sort of see a common theme of how customers want to adopt Druva.
Yeah, certainly a fantastic question. So typically, customers come to us because they want to remove the complexity that they have within their current silos of stuff that they are running on-premise today. Normally, they would start with just moving that data protection, so the backup and recovery piece. Now, being a SaaS-based application, additional insight into data can be purchased further on down the line. So a lot of the time we're almost providing like for like, but then customers expanding the way that they're using our solutions to get that better, the governance and the compliance pieces added in to that data point as well. Hopefully that answers your question.
It does, thank you.
Thanks for that, guys. Doesn't seem like we've received any more questions, so hopefully you've got some useful information from the content presented today. Thanks so much to everyone for joining, for all those that stayed right to the end. We hope we gave you a bit of an extra insight there, and I'm sure you can all agree our speakers have done a great job with the presentation as well. As we said earlier, if you have any more questions, please do get into contact with your Softcat account manager, or if you don't have anyone to contact directly, please email marketing@softcat.com and we can pass it on to the relevant person for you. As we said at the beginning, we will be sending out a copy of the recording for this webinar tomorrow, so you can watch it back on demand. Thanks again for everyone for joining, and thank you to Andrew, Martin, and Darren for speaking on this webinar today. We hope you all have a great rest of your day. Thank you.